My roommate applied to change dorm rooms without telling anyone. Out of curiosity, I asked her. Why are you moving? Haven't we all been getting along just fine? She let out a dry, awkward laugh. Well, another dorm invited me. As she said it, she kept her head down. Her voice trembled slightly. She wouldn't look at me. But when she talked to the others, her posture was noticeably more relaxed. Something sank in my chest. Is it something I did? I asked carefully. Did I make you uncomfortable living here? No, no. Of course not, she said too quickly, panic flashing across her face. Don't overthink it. It has nothing to do with you. Really? Chapter 1. When Hannah, our RA, found out that Sarah was moving out, she suggested we have one last dinner together. Sarah waved her hands immediately. No, no, that's not necessary. It's not like we'll never see each other again. The way she said it made my chest tighten. I asked her again. Why are you switching dorms? We've been fine, haven't we? At the sound of my voice, Sarah's body stiffened just slightly. She forced a short laugh. Well, another dorm reached out to me. She kept her head down, pretending to be busy with something, refusing to meet my eyes. Yet when she spoke to the others, she looked far more at ease. My heart skipped. Sarah, I said quietly. Did I do something wrong? Did I make living here uncomfortable for you? She snapped her head up, staring at me in near panic, shaking her head over and over. No. No. How could that be? Evelyn, please don't think that way. It's not because of you. Really? That same day, Sarah packed up and moved out in a hurry. There was no farewell dinner. She barely spoke to us at all. Don't you think that was strange? I asked later. Didn't it seem like Sarah was afraid of me? Jessica scoffed. Forget her. That was pretty heartless. She wouldn't even have one last meal with us. Like we'd done something wrong to her. Hannah looked annoyed as well. This is my fault. I shouldn't have suggested it. She never asked for a farewell dinner. Now everything's just awkward. It's not your fault, Jessica said. Honestly, Sarah was the only one with a completely different schedule. We go to bed around 9. She stays up late. When we're asleep, she doesn't want to turn on the lights. The other dorms stay up later. That problem doesn't exist there. Maybe it's better this way, she added. Now everyone can relax. Chapter 2. Just as Jessica had said, after Sarah moved out, the rhythm of our dorm life became much more harmonious. Basically, by 9 in the evening, while other dorms were still laughing and fooling around, we had already finished getting ready and were about to turn off the lights and go to sleep. However, one day, Hannah suddenly asked me. Evelyn, what time did you come back last night? Huh? I was completely confused by the question. Didn't I come back right after dinner? I mean, Hannah said. When you left the dorm later? I was totally lost. Later? No. I showered and went straight to bed. You didn't go out after 9? Hannah's voice sounded strange. I didn't know why she was asking, but I still answered. Yeah, I usually sleep very well. I don't get up during the night, I sleep straight through until morning. Are you sure? Hannah's face looked awful. Sensing something was wrong, I asked her. What's going on? She stared at me for a moment, then quickly looked away and said. Nothing. She said it was nothing, but after that conversation, she seemed distracted, constantly sneaking glances at me. Whenever I caught her looking, she would immediately pretend to be busy. Her strange behavior made my skin crawl. That night, for once, I didn't sleep well. I woke up from a nightmare, drenched in sweat. The dorm room was pitch dark. It wasn't morning yet. What time was it? Still thinking about the nightmare, my heart pounding, I suddenly felt someone at the foot of my bed. I glanced over and froze. Hannah was standing on the ladder, half her body leaning into my bed space. Her expression was exaggerated and unnatural, filled with fear as she stared straight at me. I screamed in terror, flipping over and sitting straight up in bed. An even more frightened scream burst from Hannah's mouth. Then came a loud crash. She fell from my bed and slammed onto the floor. Jessica and I rushed Hannah to the hospital that same night. After examining her, the doctor said, "Nothing serious. Just a sprain." Hannah, however, insisted that the doctor order a CT scan, saying he needed to thoroughly check her head. I asked Hannah, "Why were you climbing onto my bed in the middle of the night?" She avoided the question entirely and refused to answer. The very day we returned from the hospital, Hannah quietly went to the housing director and applied to change dorm rooms. The housing director called Jessica and me in for a talk. "Evelyn," she said pointedly, "don't focus only on scholarships and neglect your relationships with other students. Dorm relationships also require care." "What do you mean by that?" Jessica immediately picked up on something wrong and said angrily, "Hasn't Evelyn done enough?" She knew Sarah's family situation wasn't good, so she gave Sarah the financial aid and worked hard to earn her own scholarship. What did she do wrong? If anyone's at fault, shouldn't we be questioning Hannah? Why did she climb onto Evelyn's bed in the middle of the night? What was she trying to do? Why does she get to give no explanation at all, just because she hurt herself? The housing director shot Jessica a sharp look, clearly unwilling to engage, then softened her tone and said to me, "Evelyn, if one person applies to change dorms, it might be their issue. But if two people do, then perhaps we need to reflect on ourselves. Do you understand what I mean?" I asked the housing director directly. "Are they changing dorms because of me?" They didn't say it outright, the housing director paused briefly. "But when they talked about you, their reactions were consistently strange." "All right. I understand. I'll reflect on it." "Reflect on what?" After we left the housing office, Jessica crossed her arms, clearly upset. She always goes after the easy target. I didn't respond. I noticed the word the housing director had used. Strange. With everything that had happened recently, I felt the same way. I wanted to talk to Hannah and Sarah, but both of them had blocked me. Every message failed to deliver, like I'd been blocked. I tried finding them during class breaks. They always pretended to be talking to someone else, deliberately ignoring me, their attitudes extremely cold. After repeatedly putting myself in that position, I finally gave up. Chapter 3. Jessica lives close to campus. She goes home every weekend. Once she leaves, I'm the only one left in the dorm. At 9 o'clock, just like always, I went to bed on time. I don't know how long I'd been asleep when a phone call, ringing over and over, woke me up. Half asleep, I grabbed my phone. It was 11 at night. The caller was Jessica. Calling this late, could something have happened? I answered quickly. "Hello? Jessica, what's wrong? You've really got it good, Evelyn." Jessica's excited voice came through the phone. "Girl, I never thought you'd be living it up without me." I was completely confused. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, don't play dumb. Jessica sent me a photo." I opened it, and my eyes flew wide open. Any trace of sleep vanished instantly. In the photo, the campus heartthrob had his arm around me, holding me close. The pose couldn't have looked more intimate. My mind went blank. I was lying in my dorm bed at that very moment. When had I ever been hugging him? When was this photo taken? I asked Jessica the second I came back to my senses. "Just now." "Evelyn, stop pretending. I saw you with my own eyes." "Jessica, I'm in the dorm. The girl you saw wasn't me." "How is that possible?" Jessica shot back without hesitation. "It was you." Same face, same hair, same clothes, same shoes, same bag. I thought for a second. Then what about the phone call? I'm talking to you right now. Was that girl on the phone too? Jessica went quiet. A beat later, realization hit her. Oh, right. She didn't answer her phone. Wait. I'm going over to see who she actually is. With that, she hung up. I waited anxiously for Jessica to call back. A long time passed. Nothing. After some thought, I called her myself. The phone rang several times before it connected. I asked. Jessica, did you find out anything? Dead silence on the other end. After a long moment, she finally forced out a single word. You. Her voice was shaking. She said only that one word, then abruptly hung up. I could hear panic in the way she fled. I called back immediately. This time, she didn't answer. I sent her messages. No reply. I couldn't help but start worrying about her. Jessica, are you okay? If you see this, please, just reply once. But no matter what I sent, I couldn't reach her. That night, I was completely unsettled. Luckily, the next day was Sunday. I thought I'd at least see Jessica back on campus. Instead, I received a call from the housing director first. She sounded furious. Evelyn, did you take anything I said to heart? Didn't I just tell you last time that you need to put effort into maintaining dorm relationships? A bad feeling rose in my chest. Sure enough, her next words were, Jessica came to my office today. She's applying to change dorms too. I thought you two were close, what is going on now? I rushed to the housing office. She lectured me non-stop. When she finally got tired and stepped out to use the restroom, her computer was still logged into the school messaging system. While she was out of the office, I quietly used it to send messages to Jessica, Hannah, and Sarah, telling them there was a required form for changing dorms and that they needed to come to the office immediately. After sending the messages, I cleared the message history and made sure nothing would pop up on the screen, so the housing director wouldn't notice what I'd done. Once that was done, I ran downstairs to wait. I managed to intercept all three of them. I had tried countless times to talk to them before, but every time I showed up, they would grab another student and leave, never giving me a chance to speak. This time, I had them all cornered. I just want to know what happened, I said. Why are all of you avoiding me? Faced with my question, each of them turned away, refusing to answer. We've been classmates for so long. If I did something wrong, can you please tell me? Being isolated like this, it really hurts. As I spoke, my eyes began to sting. Jessica stole a glance at me. I could tell, she felt a little sorry. Jessica, out of everyone in the dorm, we were the closest. I don't understand why you suddenly stopped answering my calls or messages. We were fine just the day before. Is it because of that girl? The moment I said that girl, all three of them changed expression at once. Can you please tell me what actually happened? I don't want to be the only one left in the dark. I'm begging you. My pleading gaze moved from one face to another, finally settling on Jessica. She looked torn, her brows knotted tightly, lips pressed together again and again. Jessica, I just want to know what happened, I said softly, very softly. A flash of hesitation crossed her face. She clenched her teeth, as if making up her mind. Evelyn, she said. Do you know what I saw that day when I followed her? Chapter 4. Jessica told me that night, when she chased after her, she saw me. Not someone else. Not someone who just looked like you. It was you. I called your name, and you answered me, bright and clear. I said, Evelyn, you liar. You told me you were asleep in the dorm, do you take me for an idiot? You apologized and said you didn't want people to find out you were dating the campus heartthrob. You begged me to keep it a secret for you. We're the closest. After all these years, I know your voice, the little habits you have when you talk, the gestures you make without thinking. even what kind of clothes you like to wear. I'm 100% sure that person was you. But right in the middle of our conversation, I got a call from you. You were calling me from the dorm. So tell me, who was the one standing in front of me? I was terrified. I didn't dare say another word. I made up an excuse and left as fast as I could. Jessica clenched her fists tightly, as if that were the only way she could summon the courage to say all this out loud. She looked terrible. By the time she finished speaking those few sentences, her forehead was already slick with cold sweat. I had considered many possibilities. At first, I thought maybe it was just someone who looked almost exactly like me. And something had gone wrong between the two of them. But looking at Jessica's reaction, I knew her well. She wasn't someone who scared easily. Her fear was too real. So real that I couldn't help but wonder. Was it possible that another me truly existed? I forced down the turmoil inside me and stepped forward, taking hold of her clenched fist, trying to pull her back from the fear of that night. Her body trembled slightly as she looked at me. I gave her a reassuring look. Her expression eased a little, and she slowly let out a breath. At that moment, Hannah, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. I thought I was losing my mind too. After Sarah moved out, one night, close to when the dorm building was about to lock, I got up to use the bathroom. When I came out, I saw you. She stared straight at me, making it clear that the you she meant was me. You were fully dressed, about to go out. I was surprised and asked where you were going so late. You said a friend had asked you out, and you needed to step out for a bit. I told you the dorm doors were about to be locked. If you left now, you might not be able to get back into sleep. You told me not to worry. You said you had a way. After you left, I was actually pretty worried. I couldn't fall asleep. The dorm's main entrance is secured after 11:30 at night, and you need a keycard to get back in. I kept watching the time, thinking that if you came back before then, everything would be fine. But you never came back. I thought you'd have to stay at a hotel. And then the next morning, you climbed out of your bed like nothing had happened. I asked you where you went last night. You told me you hadn't gone out at all. You seemed to have no memory of our conversation the night before. I started to think something wasn't right, so I paid attention in secret. I noticed that almost every night, you would slip out of the dorm without waking anyone. And the next morning, you'd wake up in your bed right on time. I couldn't figure out how you were getting back in. The dorm doors were already locked. That night, I heard snoring from your bed. Out of curiosity, I climbed up and saw you sleeping. But just 1 minute earlier, I had watched you walk out of the dorm with my own eyes. Hannah's words made the hair on my arms stand on end. Only then did I realize. The me they had seen was sleeping in the same bed as me. She had been that close to me, and I had known nothing about it. A wave of panic surged through me. It felt as though, without me ever noticing, another version of me had already seeped quietly into every corner of my life. In a trembling voice, I asked, "What, exactly is that thing?" Out of the corner of my eye, someone's body visibly shook. Suddenly, I remembered. That's right. The first person to apply to move out was her. I turned sharply towards Sarah. What about you? I asked. Why did you change dorms? Like a startled animal, Sarah froze under my gaze, flustered and helpless, her eyes darting everywhere. Seeing this, Jessica spoke up gently. Just say it. No one's going to think you're crazy. All three of us saw something. It can't be that we're all insane, right? Sarah was still hesitant. She pressed her teeth against her lip again and again before finally speaking in a trembling voice. What I saw was different from what you all saw. Chapter 5. That single sentence instantly caught the attention of all three of us. We all turned to Sarah at the same time, waiting for her to continue. She struggled to organize her thoughts for a long moment. That day, Evelyn was washing her face in the dorm bathroom. She had cleanser on her face, head lowered as she rinsed it off. I saw her reflection in the mirror. But her shadow lowered its eyes and was looking at her. I was crouched behind her, tying my shoelaces. When the shadow realized I had seen her, it froze for just a split second. The image felt wrong, split in two. Evelyn was bent over the sink washing her face, but her shadow, in the mirror, was staring straight at me. When she finished washing and lifted her head, the shadow went back to normal. Evelyn smiled at me. The reflection in the mirror smiled at me too. I broke out in cold sweat all over. I didn't dare tell anyone about it. I was afraid they'd think I was crazy. Sarah's words made my head buzz. "You're saying there was something wrong with my shadow?" I asked. "I don't know." Sarah screamed. "I'm just telling you what I saw. As for what's wrong with you, I have no idea." She was getting emotional, her voice rising without her realizing it. I understood. Anyone who experienced something like that would struggle to stay calm. We all fell silent. The four of us, each lost in our own thoughts. After a moment, I bowed to the three of them. "I'm sorry. I caused you trouble. Thank you for telling me what happened. At least now, I'm not blind or deaf anymore. You made the right decision to move out. If I were you, I would have done the same." I forced a smile, waved goodbye, and turned to leave. When Sarah suddenly called out to me, "Evelyn, there's one more thing." I stopped. She hesitated for a few seconds, as if gathering all her courage, then continued. "Hannah doesn't know how you got back into the dorm." "I do. I saw it with my own eyes. Around 4 or 5 in the morning, you walked in from outside. The door was closed. You walked straight through it." Suddenly, I understood why Sarah had hesitated so long before every sentence. Because once words like that are spoken, it's very easy for people to question your sanity. No one wants to be labeled crazy. I had thought the only difficulty I faced was a misunderstanding with my roommates. Now I realized the real difficulty was something else entirely. How to accept an absurd truth, and force myself to understand it, to think it through. I had to keep reminding myself. No one was insane. Including me. I studied my reflection in the mirror carefully. The girl in the mirror stared straight back at me. The longer I looked, the harder it became to tell. Did her gaze feel the same as mine? Was she examining me, or was I examining her? Goosebumps crawled over my skin as I looked away. The reflection did the same, clearly displaying my fear and panic back to me in that exact moment. Tonight, I was the only one left in the dorm. The me Jessica saw. The me Hannah talked about. The me Sarah was afraid of. Could that be my shadow? If all three of them were telling the truth, if another me appeared every night. What did that version of me want? Would she hurt me? Chapter 6. 9 o'clock at night. Time for bed again. I forced myself to stay awake. But it was strange, my eyelids felt impossibly heavy. I tried to keep my eyes open, but the drowsiness was like a swamp, viciously dragging my consciousness down, pulling it into thick, sticky sleep. Something about it felt wrong. I was only used to going to bed early. I shouldn't have been this sleepy. As if I had to close my eyes immediately. I don't know how long I slept. Half awake, I felt something heavy pressing down on my lower body, making it impossible to move. I jolted awake in panic. And saw a scene that made my soul nearly leave my body. On the pitch-dark bed, another me was sitting on top of me, her back turned. The lower half of her body was merged with mine, the two of us fused together. She was leaning back, her weight naturally pressing down against me. Suddenly, her movement stopped. She seemed to realize I had woken up. Her long black hair shifted slightly. In the dim light, she turned her head to look at me. I saw a face identical to my own. That face carried an almost taunting smile. Then, like a wave dissolving into the sea, she sank into my body. The pressure vanished. My body felt light again, my limbs free to move. But I was drenched in sweat, and any trace of sleep was gone. During class break, a cup of coffee was placed in front of me. Dazed, I looked up and saw Jessica's face. She pulled out a chair and sat beside me. You? She hesitated, her eyes full of concern. I forced a smile at her. I'm fine. What are you going to do? Jessica asked. I rested my head on my arms, unable to answer. I'll help you, Jessica said. I thought I'd misheard. I lifted my head and stared at her blankly. Jessica smiled at me. The housing director really did call me in today to fill out the dorm change form. I didn't fill it out. I'm planning to move back and keep living with you. Evelyn, I don't just see you as a roommate. I see you as a friend. When a friend's in trouble, how could I just run away? That wouldn't be right, would it? I looked at Jessica for a long time. Honestly, it felt like a saw was cutting back and forth across my heart. It took a great deal of effort to stay rational as I spoke. Jessica, if I were you, I'd choose to protect myself. You deciding to help me right now is a bit too loyalty blinded. We don't even know what the other me really is. We don't know what she wants. We don't know what kind of terrifying things we might face. If you help me, you might drag yourself into this. It's not a wise choice. Yes, everyone understands the logic, Jessica said, crossing her arms and looking at me helplessly. But Evelyn, look at your dark circles. Just one night, and you look like you haven't slept in half a year. I can't just stand by and watch you face this alone. With no one to even help you think of a solution. I can't bear it. Those words, I can't bear it, made my eyes instantly sting. Enough with the serious talk, she said, winking at me, her tone light and playful. Most unknowns aren't as scary as we imagine. They only seem terrifying because we don't understand them yet. Maybe once we understand it, we'll find there's nothing to be afraid of at all. Evelyn, didn't you teach me that? I couldn't speak. I reached out and hugged Jessica, saying sincerely, "Thank you." Jessica hugged me back briefly. All right, enough sentimentality. Just tell me, how can I help? I calmed myself and thought for a moment. There is one thing I need you to do. It's very simple. Tonight, after she leaves, you have to wake me up. Chapter 7. Evelyn, wake up, now. With a violent shake, I was jolted awake from sleep. The moment my eyes opened and my mind cleared, the first thing I asked was, "She left?" Jessica wiped the sweat from her forehead and dropped onto my bed. Evelyn, what are you made of? You sleep like the dead, I couldn't wake you no matter how hard I tried. I cut her off and told her to stop rambling and get to the point. Jessica dragged out her words dramatically. Years she left, I watched her go with my own eyes. Oh, right. Her voice stopped abruptly. That sudden pause made my heart clench. After a moment, Jessica continued. She asked me to pass a message to you. My heart sank. She asked Jessica to pass me a message? I took a moment to process that before asking. What message? Jessica's lips moved twice before she spoke. She said, she's waiting for you downstairs at the art building. She wanted to meet me? Before I could sort through my thoughts, Jessica asked. Evelyn, should we go see her? Not yet, I said. There's one thing I need to confirm first. I turned on my phone's flashlight, blocked part of the beam with my finger, and shone it toward the wall. There was no shadow of my finger on the wall. Jessica stared at the scene in shock. She hesitantly waved her own finger. Her shadow danced clearly across the wall. Jessica, I asked quietly. What do you think a shadow would want, once it leaves its owner's body? Jessica didn't answer right away. For a moment, we were both lost in thought. You were right, Jessica, I said. When facing the unknown, the first thing we should do is try to understand it. Only by understanding it can we find a way to deal with it. Look, at least now we've confirmed one thing. She is my shadow. My shadow isn't here right now, which means whatever I do at this moment, she won't know about it, right? I asked. Jessica's eyes lit up. That's right. I asked Jessica. Do you have Mike's number? Mike was the campus heartthrob, the one my shadow had been dating. I asked because I knew Jessica and Mike ran in the same social circle. Sure enough, Jessica puffed up proudly. Not only do I have Mike's number, I also have his girlfriend Charlotte's. She's my cousin's best friend. Mike has a girlfriend? Of course. Charlotte, a real old money heiress. Don't be fooled by how wild Mike usually is. In front of Charlotte, he's completely whipped, terrified she'll dump him. Charlotte just came back from overseas a few days ago. Mike's probably glued to her right now, bending over backward to please her. Are you sure this information is reliable? Absolutely, Jessica said, patting her chest. I won't claim to know everything, but when it comes to gossip, there's nothing I don't know. I need Charlotte's number, I said, holding out my hand. 1 minute later, I dialed Charlotte's number. Hello, this is Evelyn, Jessica's close friend. I'm sorry to call so late, but please. I need your help. At 11 that night, a low-key luxury car stopped at the school gate. Charlotte got out with Mike. Jessica and I had already prepared snacks and drinks at the campus gazebo. Once Charlotte and Mike sat down, Jessica cleared her throat seriously. Charlotte, what I'm about to tell you may sound unbelievable. But you have to trust me. There's nothing wrong with my mind. Chapter 8. It took more than 10 minutes for Jessica to lay everything out. The shadow, start to finish. I filled in details from the side, trying to make the story as airtight as possible. Hoping a coherent account would make it sound more believable. Even so, the way Charlotte and Mike looked at us inevitably began to resemble the look people give the mentally unstable. Until I turned on my phone's flashlight and slowly waved my finger. They stared in shock as they realized I truly had no shadow. Actually, the main reason we asked you to come all this way, I said, was to ask Mike something. About the me you usually spend time with, did she ever seem particularly strange? Mike had still been reeling when I asked that. He snapped back to his senses at once, glanced guiltily at Charlotte, and stiffened his neck. Let's be clear, he said defensively. It's not me spending time with you. It's my buddies. You and I have nothing to do with each other. We're totally clean. I rubbed my temples and emphasized just as firmly. Let me be clear too. She is she. I am me. We are not the same person. Mike was about to argue. Charlotte shot him a cool glance. He immediately shut his mouth. Just answer what Evelyn asks, Charlotte said flatly. Don't add anything unnecessary. We're here to help, not to cause trouble. Mike lowered his head and began to think carefully. She really likes attention. She plays hard. In the places we usually hang out, almost everyone knows the name Evelyn. Put it this way. On campus, you are Evelyn. Outside campus, she is Evelyn. As far as I'm concerned, he said. She's Evelyn. You're not. As soon as Mike finished speaking, a thought struck me like a blow. My face went deathly pale. Jessica nudged my arm. Evelyn, are you okay? I forced myself to stay calm, shook my head, and asked Mike again. Did she ever show any other abnormal behavior? I was just messing around with her, Mike said. I didn't pay that much attention. Suddenly, as if something occurred to him, his expression stiffened. Actually, now that you mention it, there was something weird. She only ever showed up at night. Once morning came, she had to leave, no matter what. One time, a few of the guys held her back and wouldn't let her go. She completely lost it. Screaming that dawn was coming and she had to go back. That crazed, almost feral look on her face. It really stuck with me. That was it. There was nothing more to squeeze out of the conversation. It was already very late, and I decided to go to the art building for the meeting. Charlotte wanted to come too. She wanted to know whether what we'd said was true. She wanted to see for herself the shadow that was supposedly identical to me. So the four of us went together to the area outside art building. By then it was deep into the night. The vast campus lay like a slumbering beast. Under the bright streetlights outside the building, tiny insects swarmed in the glow. But there wasn't a single person in sight. I asked Jessica suspiciously. Did she really tell me to meet her here? Before Jessica could answer, my phone buzzed with a new message. I opened it, and my pupils shrank. The message was from my own account. Just 6 words. Stand there. Don't move. I was still trying to process what that meant when a sharp cry rang out beside me. Watch out. The next second, someone yanked my arm and dragged me violently to the side. Crash. A deafening sound. A white plaster statue smashed into the spot where I had been standing, shattering into pieces. If I hadn't been pulled away, it would have landed squarely on my head. Chapter 9. We hurried inside the art building. The statue was used by art students, Jessica said. It's on the 5th floor. We rushed upstairs to the 5th floor. That was when I finally saw her. My shadow. We had the same hairstyle, the same clothes. Even the pimple on my face was in the exact same spot. Miss Shadow, I asked flatly. Having fun using my identity? The shadow smiled at me. She didn't answer my question. Instead, she announced calmly. It's already too late, Evelyn. You can't stop me. Stop you from what? I asked. Don't try to bait me, the shadow said, as if she could see right through me. Her smile grew brazen. I know you have a lot of questions. I won't answer a single one. Go ahead and guess, she said lightly. The more you guess, the more wrong you'll be. Fine. Then I'll guess boldly, I shot back, staring straight at her, refusing to give an inch. I'm guessing your goal is to replace me, to become the true owner of this body. Am I right? I asked. The shadow only smiled, saying nothing. I didn't care about her reaction and continued. You started this plan a long time ago, in secret. The first thing you did was draw attention. You needed some people to notice you. To accept you as Evelyn. And your first step succeeded. It worked on me too. The effect was that I started sinking deeper and deeper into sleep. And once I fell asleep, I couldn't wake up easily. When you fully achieve your goal, I might never wake up again. Because at that point, I would become the shadow. I stopped and watched her carefully. The smile on her face faded without her noticing. In its place appeared a trace of displeasure. I continued. Now you've moved on to the second step of your plan. The plaster statue you threw at me earlier, that was your doing. You tried to hit me with it, but you can't kill me, can you? You've had plenty of chances to kill me. But you didn't. Instead, you went to great lengths to lure me here to the art building, and then threw the statue at me. That means there are rules restricting how you can hurt me, right? So what are those rules? Do you dare tell me? By the time I finished pressing her with question after question, my tone had grown sharp and aggressive. The shadow still said nothing. But the look in her eyes was no longer relaxed. I curled my lips into a smile, cold, contemptuous, and struck straight at her weakness with mockery. You won't tell me because I guessed everything right, didn't I? Replacing the original owner isn't that easy, is it, Miss Shadow? Ha! The shadow finally snapped under my provocation and let out a cold laugh. Actually, it's not as difficult as you think. In the human world, owners being replaced by their shadows happens every single day. You're surrounded by people like that. You just never noticed. What's funny is, you even come up with excuses for the shadows. Someone you haven't seen in a while changes completely when you meet again. You call that growth. Someone survives a serious illness and comes out with a totally different personality. You call that having a new outlook on life. Someone who used to be cheerful and talkative becomes dull and withdrawn. You call that life. You never once consider the possibility that they were replaced by their own shadow long ago. And are no longer the person you once knew. Chapter 10. Evelyn, you'll be next. The shadow's voice was firm, like an oath. Will I? I asked calmly, as steady as a monk in meditation. Shadow, I said slowly. I have one last question. If they don't let you go, what happens to you then? The shadow's eyes flew wide open. She understood what I meant. A flash of panic crossed her face. You panicked, I said. Looks like I guessed right again. The shadow lunged at me. Jessica and Mike reacted instantly, grabbing her from both sides and slamming her against the wall. Charlotte even darted in front of me, trying to block the shadow from getting any closer. The shadow flew into a rage, struggling wildly. I took it all in and finally let out a breath. Shadow, let's try this one more time. Let's see what happens if you don't make it back into me on time. The night stretched on. The shadow struggled against us until dawn drew near, growing hysterical. Veins bulged across her skin. She seemed to have endless strength, ramming forward like a wild calf. But Jessica and Mike held her down with all their might. The difference in strength was overwhelming. Her struggle was futile. The moon sank in the west. The sun rose in the east. As the first rays of morning light broke through the clouds, the shadow's body seemed to dilute. Its color fading, little by little, until it vanished before our eyes. At the same time, sunlight stretched my shadow long across the ground. I raised my hand and made different gestures. The shadow mirrored every movement. My shadow had come back. Mike collapsed onto the floor, exhausted. Phew. He let out a long breath. Finally, it's over. It sounded like a narrow escape from death. He tilted his face up, looking at Charlotte with hopeful eyes, like a puppy begging for praise. Charlotte ignored him coolly. Everyone was exhausted. We didn't bother with appearances and sat down right there on the floor. Evelyn, Jessica said, sitting beside me and poking my shadow playfully. Is she really gone? My gaze fell on the shadow as well. Who knows? No book had ever taught me how to determine whether one's shadow was normal. I could only test it in the clumsiest way possible. I set alarms. Every hour, the alarm rang. Each time I woke up, I waved my finger to see if my shadow was still on the wall. I checked every day. The shadow was always there. Slowly, I accepted the fact that everything had returned to normal. Jessica stopped staying with me every day. She decided to go back to spending weekends at home. Her family had urged her many times already. On the day she left, she was still worried, repeating herself again and again. If anything happens, call me. You hear me? She said it so many times I was starting to find her annoying. That night, she called me again. I was about to curse her out when a voice I knew all too well came through the line. Evelyn, you're so good at guessing. Why don't you guess why Jessica's phone is in my hand? My mind exploded. It took me a long moment to find my voice. Shadow? A smug laugh answered me. Evelyn, I can't kill you. But I can kill Jessica. I'll give you half an hour. Show up in front of me, and I'll let Jessica go. How about it? I'm not coming, I said flatly, without a shred of hesitation. The shadow choked on her words. Evelyn, I know you. Don't pretend to be tough. If you don't show up, I'll send you photos of Jessica, cut to pieces. Is that so? I said calmly, bumping my elbow against the person beside me. Say something for her. Jessica, who had been holding it in this whole time, burst into roaring laughter. Her laughter traveled clearly through the phone, straight into the shadow's ears. The other side fell into a long silence. I could already imagine the expression on the shadow's face. Unhurriedly, I revealed the answer for her. Jessica installed a camera in the dorm. Every move you made was right under her nose. She didn't even tell me about the camera. I didn't know. So there was no way you could have known. You were only guarding against me. You never guarded against her. You pretended you'd disappeared, quietly lying in wait for the right moment. When Jessica left campus and the dorm was empty except for me, you showed up again. Used my phone to delete all of Jessica's contact info, then disguised your own number as hers. You wanted to trick me. But Shadow. While you went out to set everything up, Jessica woke me up right afterward. Surprised? She never went home at all. Take a guess. What do you think we were planning? I could hear the Shadow's breathing grow rapid. Heavy. Ragged. Completely losing control. Calmly, I delivered the final blow. I've always believed that the way to destroy you is to make it impossible for you to return to my body. Since holding you down and forcing you not to return didn't work. Then we try a second method. What if you can't find me? Shadow, Jessica and I aren't in the dorm anymore. On the other end, the breathing stopped abruptly. That reaction pleased me immensely. Smiling, I announced. Shadow, the game of hide-and-seek starts now. Through the surveillance feed, we watched the Shadow tear through the dorm in a frenzy. Where are you? Where are you? She yanked open the wardrobe, throwing every piece of clothing onto the floor. She dropped to the ground, craning her neck to peer underneath the cabinets. She ripped open the blankets on the bed. Found no one, and swept everything onto the floor in rage. While the Shadow searched the world for me. Jessica and I had already left campus under Charlotte's protection and moved into her massive house. The three of us lounged side by side on a sofa bigger than a bed, sipping champagne and red wine, enjoying desserts prepared by a private chef. On the dorm surveillance screen, the Shadow raged helplessly. On Charlotte's home security feed, Mike knelt on the floor, crying and begging for forgiveness. Charlotte responded with a single sentence. We're done. Don't contact me again. Get lost. Mike's tears were worth nothing to her. A massive floor-to-ceiling window stood directly across from the sofa. As we watched the sun rise, the Shadow's body began to burn. The fire on her body didn't spread to anything else. It consumed only her, until she dissolved into air. I raised my hand and waved it back and forth in the sunlight. My Shadow waved back with me. This time? Jessica asked. The Shadow is really gone, right? I blinked. Gone? Who knows?